Hello, hello.
How's it going? Like,
Very well. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
this is Kia from Balancer, everyone. I'm Jordan, aka Round Elephant. I do community and governance here at One Inch. We have Matt.
Hey everyone, I'm on the support team and I'll be helping moderate this community call.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, so let's get started. I'll hit some One Inch news topics here while we start. A couple milestones. So we hit 140 billion in total trading volume on the Ethereum network and 1.1 million users. So very excited about that. We have some gas updates. So in February, One Inch network burned over 2,000 ETH through EIP 1559 transaction fees. So we're up there. I mean, I think we're top 10 of Ethereum EIP 1559 burners. So it just shows that One Inch network's healthy and we're seeing a lot of activity and growth still. On the top of gas, One Inch Foundation still has their gas refund program going. So I don't know if everyone knows about this. I was talking about it a lot at ETH Denver. It seemed like it caught some people by surprise. But if you stake 100 One Inch, you get 25% of your gas fees back while using One Inch. 1,000 One Inch is 50%. And it goes up in tiers to 100% if you stake 100,000. So it's just a pretty cool program to use if you're actively trading. We had some events. We were at ETH Denver a couple weeks ago, so I'm not sure how many people here were there. I guess Kia definitely was, and Matt was, so it was very cool to meet you in person. Great feedback from the community there. And then next week, we'll be at ETH Rio. I think we can move on now. Let's talk to Balancer about their boosted pools integration. I'll post a link to that thread in that community calls chat. That's where we're going to be like text chatting during this whole call. So pop over there if you want to ask questions or make comments. But Balancer had a very cool post on our governance forums this week about a possible collab integration of their new boosted pools. Do you want to talk a little bit more on that? Yep.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. My name is Kia. I'm a product manager at Balancer Labs. Balancer Labs is a contributor to the Balancer protocol. Amazing to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Amazing turnout. And also, I want to say congrats on the metrics that you have achieved and overall the success of One Inch, the launch of the DAO. You guys have been really crushing it. So congrats on that. It was really good meeting the team in Denver, as you mentioned, the amazing party you guys hosted. So that was also very cool.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, so I am here today to present our latest pool type at Balancer to the One Inch community. I'll describe what they are, how they work, what is kind of the next few milestones that we're hoping to hit up with them, and overall goals and visions and the roadmap for it. These new pool types are not yet integrated in the One Inch aggregator, so we would be very hopeful to have the support of the One Inch community as well as the Balancer community and a few other communities and protocols that are going to be using these pools to integrate these pools and have a win-win situation for everyone. So I will jump into describing these boosted pools.
Awesome.
At any point, please feel free to interrupt if there are any questions coming
Okay,
up.
so guys, just put those questions in the community calls channel, and Matt Trader Snow is moderating that, and he'll kick them forward to us. So don't be afraid to chime in. We want this to be dynamic. I mean, we're a DAO, so decentralized.
Exactly, yeah, sounds good. I'll be just going basically over what I wrote in the on the forum, and yeah, any questions come up, we can interrupt. Thank you, Matt, and then we can also happy to take questions at the end as well. But basically, these boosted pools are a continuation of concept that was first proposed by Dan Elitzer in the beginning of DeFi summer in 2020, what he called aquaponics symbiosis between DeFi protocols. The idea is that AMMs and money markets are very symbiotic in their relationship, and the liquidity between the two could be shared instead of just being at one place at all time. So I've linked to Dan Elitzer's post in the forum chat. That's very interesting to read and see like where we are with that concept 2 years ago. And for context, Dan's been one of the big brains of the DeFi space and just speaking a lot of these DeFi primitives into existence over the years. His previous piece before aquaponics was superfluid collateral, which gave rise to C tokens and A tokens. But
so just to kind of just go base level here, AMM is something like Uniswap, right? We where you have the automated market maker, you have pools of liquidity, and then the money market is something like Aave, right?
Exactly.
So you're hybridizing those together with your boosted pools. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, AMMs are. I think they first came around when like the DeFi space realized that the order book model is not very efficient on EVM spaces. It's basically this concept that the LP, the liquidity provider or market maker, would put in equal shares of 2 tokens in a pool, and then that'll allow liquidity for traders. And then came around projects like 1inch that basically aggregate many different AMM pools under the hood and allow the best price possible for the end user. Money markets, on the other hand, is basically a lending and borrowing market like Aave, like Compound, which allows you to put one asset as collateral and then borrow a second asset. Balancer is a AMM platform. It's actually a platform of AMMs, plural. It's really designed for people to build their own pool types on top. And but we do also create some pool types ourselves that we believe would be beneficial to the whole DeFi ecosystem as a whole. And that's kind of the concept behind boosted pools. To get into more concretely what they do, basically, at any given time, there's sometimes anywhere between 50 to sometimes $500 million, $50 million to $500 million of liquidity in some of these pools. For example, currently there's about 200 million in the Aave boosted pool that we have. But at any given time, there's only about 10% of this liquidity that is being actively used to facilitate trades. So the other 90% just basically sits there to provide price protection, but isn't really doing anything productive.
So it's capitally inefficient sense. Is that the term we use?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Cool.
It is a bit capital inefficient to have that amount of money just sitting in a pool, just in case a big swap comes through, and maybe like those never come. But the idea behind aquaponics was that could we funnel those on that unused capital somewhere else to be more capital efficient and basically use this money elsewhere as well. So this concept was tried out first I think, for example, there's a curve pool that houses only A tokens, so AUSDC, AUSDT, and ADAI, for example. And these are the yield-bearing versions of the underlying assets, DAI, USDC, and USDT. The idea being that the assets are actually sitting all in Aave, and the user, the liquidity provider, gets the added yield from those Aave pools. This was a basically like a first iteration of this concept because all the assets were sitting in Aave at the whole time. Basically, every trade would need to also be going through Aave, which made those pools very gas inefficient. So every time there was a trade, you're going through the AMM, you're also going through the money market. The gas cuts are about 500,000 Gwei. As such, the volume, the TVL, the volume to TVL ratio would be very low. The balancer boosted pools, we were trying to tackle this issue with the gas inefficiency. So the concept we came up with, which at the code level is sometimes referred to as linear pools, is basically a pool that maintains about 10% DAI and then 90% ADAI. And the idea is that about 95% of all trades could just use that 10% DAI that's in the pool. And then we would, yeah.
Sorry, just interesting hearing you describe it.
Yep. So that is actually like the cool part, where there are these linear pools under the boosted pool concept that have 90% of the assets in the Aave, so the liquidity provider gets most of the yields from Aave, but then they also get swap fees because these are gas efficient for trades. And you would have the same for USDC, you would have the same for USDT, and then we could create a meta pool on top, which is, I'll talk about some of the technologies we have at Balancer that allows this, but then there's a pool up top that just holding the LP tokens, which we call them BPTs, the Balancer pool tokens of those underlying pools in it. And you would be able to go between DAI, USDC, and USDT by hopping through pools.
Very cool. And kind of like what you said, about 90% of those funds, 90% of the liquidity that the liquidity provider is providing is earning yield with Aave. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
So the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of the users who are liquidity providers are starting to think about this concept, but at the moment, a lot of the liquidity in the AMM pools is basically incentivized or subsidized by the liquidity mining incentives. What we have tried to do with boosted pools is to create sustainable long-term yields for these pools that even in a situation where there is no liquidity mining, there's still a added yield. That's the concept of boosted. So for like the USDC, USDT, and the DAI Aave pool that we have, our liquidity mining committee has decided that it is worth allocating the liquidity mining incentives. But since this is a primitive that can now be applied anywhere, and I'll talk about some of the people who are adopting this concept to their use cases, to their tokens and protocols. Since this can be adopted, now it's a primitive that basically allows for yield over time for the DeFi space.
So is this just for stable coins right now, or?
It works best for stable coins because in money markets, there's always a yield for stable coins and not as much for things like ETH or WBTC, since those are mainly being used as collateral, not as a asset that is being borrowed. But the underlying technology of boosted pools is adaptable to all types of assets. So what we kind of like foresee happening. This is not currently in the works, but we would love to work on support for the community. You could adapt the same concept to maybe stake ETH with the Lido version or the Rocket version, and then get additional boosted yields.
Oh, wow.
Staking ETH. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So just to tie this back to 1inch for a second, I think the gist of your forum post is that these pools are unique, so it would require some engineering on our part to integrate, right? That's the reason why 1inch hasn't integrated the boosted pool into our protocol yet.
Yes, exactly. That is a good point, bringing us back to the proposal, because there is like so much innovation and making this underlying concept happen. These pools kind of fall outside the standard implementation of previous balancer pools or other AMMs. So as such, they need an extra level of effort in engineering in integrating these pools. But what I wanted to hit on is basically bring the attention of the community to the current pool that's live, the Balancer Boosted Aave pool, which has about 200 million of USDC DAI USDT, which once integrated will provide a good amount of volume to 1inch. But also to bring to the attention that there are other teams adapting this technology to other sources of liquidity that are a little bit more scarce. So if the 1inch aggregator were able to use boosted pools, categorically all the future boosted pools as well, the community could expect sources of liquidity coming live that are more scarce in the space. So one of those being what we're working on with the guys at Faye and Rari to adapt the boosted pools to the Fuse money market. And I'm sure some of the audience know the Faye DAO and the Rari DAO merged together recently. So Rari has these Fuse money markets, and Faye is a stable coin that has Portugal controlled value. So the Faye DAO itself has about 100-200 million dollars of stable coins that they're sitting on that they would like to both put on the market for market making, and they would like to use them in Fuse pools for providing borrow liquidity. And boosted pools caught their attention, so we're working on adapting the boosted pools to ERC 4626, which would allow us to launch a boosted pool into a Fuse. And the Faye guys are thinking about launching a pool with DAI, LUSD, and Faye. And just looking at the amount of DAI and LUSD that they hold, and they could create Faye for this pool, it could range anywhere between 50 to 150 million dollars of liquidity, which is actually a massive size for those three assets, especially for Faye and LUSD. So that's going to be coming up soon.
I have a few questions here. Sorry, I just don't want to lose track of them here. They're coming in pretty quick in the community calls channel. MK Flow is asking, how can this integration with boosted pools benefit the 1inch user? And I think you kind of touched on that with the better capital efficiency. And just thinking about it, this would probably be a new module in our 1inch earn category we just launched. But if you want to touch on that for a second.
Yeah. Thanks, MK Flow, for the question. That's actually a great question. So there are a number of different ways where the 1inch user would be benefited from this. One is the users could, of course, provide liquidity to the pool. The straightforward way is the 1inch end users will get better prices on USDC, USDT, DAI, and then the coming up pools as well. And one thing we didn't talk about is the way these linear pools or boosted pools under the hood work, that the way that ratio between the 90% ADAI and DAI is maintained is via a native incentive mechanism within those pools that incentivizes traders to maintain those 90% to 10% ratio. So without getting into much details, there are the trades, and we have actually examples of these that we could share. We've put some of them on Twitter. There are times where the end user is going, for example, from DAI to USDC, and the pool will be paying the user a few basis points for that trade. So
Oh, wow.
it's totally possible to do 100,000 of DAI to USDC and then end up with $101,000 because of those native incentives. So better trades will be one outcome for the 1inch user. The next one, which is something I was touching on, is these new sources of liquidity for these assets that are a bit more scarce in terms of their liquidity than, for example, USDC and USDT are, being FEI, being LUSD, Ample, and other things that we're working on. I don't know if there are any other questions or...
Yeah, there are a few. So Bruce Lee, or I think he goes by Bruce786, actually has a series of questions here. We kind of touched on one already. His first question was, can boosted pools be used on the 1inch earn trading strategy? That's where I think they'd probably go.
Absolutely, that would be so
we
awesome
have
to actually see that integration as well.
Yeah.
So the 1inch users would be able to take benefit of the yields there as well, because the yields are pretty good, and these are pretty safe primitives. It's just, balancer and Aave, balancer and fuse. It's not really a very risky strategy, but it has great yields.
So our first pool right now is USDC, USDT. Are those pairs that you guys have integrated with right now, or?
Yeah, I would have to look into how you guys integrate with that side and understand that a little bit better. But we absolutely, do have USDC, USDT, and DAI in the Aave boosted pool currently.
Okay. He has a few other questions here. So do you guys have a performance comparison to normal pools, like APY, basically? How the APY compares to normal pools?
On the LP side or on the trader side?
The LP side, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have anything official. We could work on something and post it on Discord. But the APY at the moment is about I think 7 to 8%. There's more incentives coming to the pool as actually like pending the integration with 1inch. But comparing that to pools on Uniswap, you don't really actively need to manage these positions because they're not concentrated liquidity. So it's like a lot less work for the end user, and probably like twice as much of the yields.
Cool. Awesome. And then he's going pretty deep here. He's asking about security concerns for the boosted pools. Yeah, and even down to like whether or not like an algorithmic stablecoin depegs and it's in the pool. Has that been thought about? How do these compare security-wise to existing pools?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in terms of security, because the pool is using another external source, being Aave, the surface level is of course extended, but it's not using Aave in any unique way, or it's not a very new technology in Aave. So the fact that Aave is Lindy, has been secure, it has been around for a long time. It's not really like a new protocol that is very risky.
Okay.
So the surface is larger, but it's just Aave,
Yeah. Okay. Like, so anything in DeFi, if you're linking together different projects, you're going to have more risk just by definition, but it's not like you're linking into any super risky sketch projects there.
Yeah, exactly. And to kind of give more context on how we approach security concerns at Balancer, actually a good chunk of our core smart contracts team are former Open Zeppelin engineers. So these were the guys that were at Open Zeppelin in like 2018, 2019 when DeFi first were coming along, and are very security minded, used to be auditors. And so we do very thorough internal auditing that, and being lucky to having access to such resources as our engineering team. But then, of course, we'll also go through formal external audits as well.
Cool. Could you just give the community just a quick summary on what Open Zeppelin is? We have a lot of new members in One Edge community. So
absolutely. So anytime there's a usually it's like more common with smart contracts. Some like 1inch, there's a lot of like traditional backend happening, but on our side of world where we come up with a new smart contract, it's usually very useful to have a security team look at the code, run it through formal verification, but also go through all the logic and all the code and all the external dependencies and highlight if they see any security risks. So there are a number of auditing firms in the space. One of the most well-known one is Open Zeppelin, which have been kind of OGs of the space, have been around for a long time and have a great reputation. And we're just lucky that a few of our core smart contracts engineers actually used to be auditors at Open Zeppelin.
Cool. And then the last question Bruce has, he's a little bit of a degen here, but he wants to know if we can apply leverage on these boosted pools or any other idea to get even a higher return. Has that been thought about, or?
Yes, please do slide into my DMs. I'm not saying the channel of the person who's asking, but yeah, it's a very savvy user who would love to chat with you more. So we are actually working on some stuff like that. It's a little bit of a alpha leak here, but we work very closely with the Ferrari DAO. And one of the concepts that they're working on is what they call the Fei Turbo. So we're going to be launching a fuse pool where users can borrow against their balancer pool tokens. So imagine if you are providing liquidity to this Aave boosted pool, you get this BPT token as kind of like the receipt of your position in that pool. You can then take that to the balancer fuse pool boosted by Turbo on Rari. You would put that as collateral and you would borrow Fei against it. And then you can put that Fei back into either the BBA USD pool or the upcoming BBF USD pool with the Ferrari guys themselves. And that is going to be going live in hopefully a few weeks. So it will be possible to lever up on these positions, and because they're kind of like stable, the liquidation risk is quite manageable. What we would love to see is actually to create strategies where that like the user would actually see that happening for them kind of automatically, and then the compounding events, and that would be something cool to build the Yearn guys or other yield aggregators as well. So I do have ideas around it, not as concrete, but the leverage itself is definitely coming up.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you. I think that exhausted the questions we have right now. I see some people are typing in chat. You guys have any other questions for Kia right now while he's in the call? The balancer boosted pools integration.
Yeah, it's maybe as more questions are coming in, I'll kind of touch base on other boosted pools that are in the works, other than the one with Aave and the one with Fuse. So the guys at PowerPool are creating a new pool type that uses a asset manager to put LUSD into LUSD's stability pool, and the pair they want to use LUSD in that pool against will be the BPT of the BBA USD pool. So that'll create additional source of liquidity for 1inch. Could be a source of yield for the users, but it would kind of be reliant on being able to do batch swaps and using the BPT of a pool as a trading asset. Moving forward, the Ampleforth guys are also adapting the boosted pools for their use case. They are, I think, thinking about a pool where the underlying linear pool is wrapped Aave Ampleforth and wrapped Ampleforth. And then you can, again, take the BPT of that pool, put it against either BBA USD, BBF USD, or WETH, and create basically routes of liquidity from the Ample token to the rest of the Balancer ecosystem.
Wow. Very cool. These BPT tokens, these are just normal ERC20s, right? Like these things would be integrated already into the 1inch aggregation algorithm, correct? Or
yeah, that's actually a great question. So the way Balancer is different than a lot of other AMMs is that our architecture is such that the tokens in a pool actually all sit in a single contract. So all the liquidity that is on Balancer is sitting on a single contract, which we call the vault. And the pools only carry the logic of the AMM. In other AMMs, the pool has the tokens and the logic. So there are circumstances where you need to go through multiple pools to find the best route for a trade. In other AMMs, you actually physically need to transfer the tokens from pool A to pool B and then transfer it to pool C. And then if you're going to, 5 different pools, that'll be 5 transfer events on chain, which is not gas efficient. In Balancer, the reason we went with the architecture that we have is that there's basically internal accounting in the vault, so you would have only a single transfer event. And then you can basically go through as many pools as you would have lost only a single transfer. So what that allows us to do, kind of tying that back to your question, that now we can use the LP tokens, which we call them BPTs, the LP tokens of a pool themselves as tradable assets. So there's that diagram I created on the, I put on the thread. So for example, to go between DAI and USDC, you swap your DAI with the LP token of the BBA DAI pool. Then you swap that with the LP token of the USDC pool. Then you swap that LP token with USDC itself. But this would on-chain look like a single transfer event on Balancer, whereas with other AMMs, it would be multiple hops. So once this is supported in the 1inch aggregator, just being able to do these batch swaps, the source of liquidity kind of like expands for 1inch, being able to go through multiple pools with just a single transfer event and keeping the gas costs very low. That was a good question to kind of like talk about the Balancer architecture. Sorry if I went off there.
No, very interesting stuff. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm sold on the integration. I'm very excited about it. Will be cool. Oh, we have a question from Natalia here. She's actually a 1inch member, community and support manager. She says, on which chains will the BB pools be supported?
Also a great question. We are the Balancer pool, the Balancer protocol is deployed on Arbitrum and Polygon, but there's also a fork of Balancer on Phantom. We have a friendly fork program. We actually do like it when pull fork balancer and deploy it on other chains, and we maintain a relationship with them and we help them with technology. So the guys on Beethoven X, which is the friendly fork on Phantom, have adapted the boosted pools to work with Yearn. And they're actually getting a good amount of volume over there because trading on Phantom happens kind of on their UI. But they are already live on Phantom. So once the underlying support for the boosted pools is there, that is an additional source of liquidity. We, on the deployments that we maintain on Arbitrum and Polygon, we would like to also adapt the boosted pools to Aave over there as well, especially Polygon. And Fuse is coming to Arbitrum, I think, so we want to deploy it over there as well. But all of basically the iterative plans that we have for the boosted pools and taking them to the next level have are pending the integrations with aggregators like 1inch. So once you guys support the boosted pools, we will be happy to deploy them on Polygon and Arbitrum, which they would actually perform so much better over there as well.
Awesome. Very cool. Seems like we could help each other out there. Mutually aligned incentives. Are you guys looking at any non-EVM chains right now, like Starknet's Layer 2? Or I know those are pretty hard to deploy too compared to just an EVM chain, but just wondering if it's on your radar.
Yeah, non-EVM would be very non-trivial for us. But just generally, the balancer team is very interested in DK rollups, the various versions of them that are kind of coming up in this space, especially the ones that will be able with to work with the EVM that would have EVM compatibility. So once I think the ZK rollups are ready to be used, and you guys are on them, we would be, I think, the community over at Balancer will be working towards Balancer on the ZK rollups as well.
Awesome. Any other questions for Kia while he's in here? I know a lot of people are waiting for the Pope drop, so I think I can say the phrase now. The secret phrase to message the Pope bot is when 1inch balancer, WEN. I'll post it in the chat right now. So message the Pope bot with that secret phrase to get your Pope.
Yeah, I gotta go get mine too. That would be a cool.
Yeah, be quick about it.
Yeah.
Since when they run out, they run out. So I think we should have enough for everyone, but definitely first come, first serve there. Cool. Well, let's open up the floor to general discussion here. Actually, Bruce has a couple more questions here. It's kind of our governance MVP. Is it possible to use assets during a swap in limit order function of 1inch, like a user fixed a 30-day trade, then the underlying stablecoin can be sent to these boosted pools to earn yield while the trade is active? Very interesting. I don't know if you know about our limit order protocol, Kia, but yeah, it's kind of a gasless way for the end user.
That would be actually a very cool thing to work on. So I don't know if anyone from the bench team thinks that would be feasible. That would be very cool. The end user.
Yeah.
We would love to work on it with you guys.
Yeah, one little hiccup I can think of right now is these limit orders are gasless, like the maker. Actually, I don't know who the maker and taker is there, but the person creating the limit order in the first place does not pay gas fees. It's just a signing. And then the person who fills that limit order pays the fee. So it might get kind of weird there with actually having to send your coins out to the balancer boosted pool. Like, I think you'd have to probably pay the gas fee there, right? But this is just me thinking about it for the 30 seconds. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be like a different implementation, but it might be. I don't know if we could run the numbers, but it might be worth it for the end user if it's going to sit there for a long time, just like offset the gas cost if that'll work to become a thing for those trades. But yeah, it would be. Yeah, I would love to kind of talk with someone on those. They want to message me just because I don't understand the limit order architecture as well. But yeah, it sounds super interesting actually.
Yeah, thank you. And then another question from him. He's throwing a curveball here. Are there any competitors to these BB pools out there utilizing similar tech?
So yeah, I kind of hinted on it earlier. So there is a Aave pool on Curve, and it actually has a tremendous amount of liquidity in it, and it is integrated with aggregators, just not getting a lot of volume because it's just purely the A tokens. Like there's just a DAI, a USDC, and a USDT there, and every trade needs to go through Aave as well, which makes it like very gas inefficient. So with similar architecture to what Balancer has, where it kind of like solves for that exact problem. There's not a competitor at the moment, so that is very cool. And trying to think about other implementations. No, it's kind of been one of the topics that we've been really passionate about. I hit on earlier, aquaponics and how we can link different DeFi protocols together. It's Balancer's proud to be a leader there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll be around if there are any other questions comes up. But if you guys will be moving on to other discussion, I really wanted to thank the community. It's a tremendous amount of people here coming in for listening in, and again, amazing. Thank you so much for the questions that you guys brought up. I am on the 1inch Discord, so feel free to tag me in any channels if you have any questions. Send me a DM. Discord, Twitter, wherever you guys like. But I'll be around. Would love to talk more with the community and see what else we can do together. And I'll be staying on the call as well if any questions come.
Okay, cool. Did you say something, Matt? Or Artem? Hi, Artem.
Yes, I'm from engineering side from 1inch. I just heard some question about limit orders protocol. Just maybe give one comment that limit orders protocol are quite flexible, and we have like ability at the smart contract level have arbitrary execution, let's say post-execution predicate. So what I had in mind regarding the question about limit order and like pulse interaction, that what we can implement, just an idea from what I heard. Imagine you place a limit order, and as a receiver address, so like the actual payout will go not to your address, but will go to some pool that you're gonna send your money. So let's say I said, okay, I want to sell my, I don't know, let's say wrapped Ether to some USDC coin, but I want to receive it not to my address, but I want to attach post-execute, let's say post-execute predicate that will transfer my money right into the other pool, like a balancer, and to use some trading strategies. So like what is technically feasible, I think, is have post-execution predicate that will transfer your money into some trading strategy or the balancer pool or whatever. But here the point of integration, even our predicate, so you can put any logic, still like engineering, and also there is like checks of message sender in the pool maybe. So not any smart contract might become a receiver of order payout, but we can think of some of such integration. And just I think out loud from the ideas that I heard from the
It is a super cool idea, so that's actually awesome to hear. Another thing I wanted to bring up is I mentioned this on the forum post, but another basically underlying tech that these pools have is the BPT, the LP token of these pools is pre-minted and sits within the pool itself. So joining the pool and exiting it as an LP is just a swap with one of the assets that is in the pool. So what we could even do is if there are people who are LPing into these pools and they could basically use that BPT to put in the limit orders, like if the price hits a certain amount, then because it's a swap, like you don't need to actually like implement or exiting that pool and then doing a limit order. It would just be a series of orders just going from that BPT to the end. And then you can actually, like, again, as you mentioned, point it towards another contract and deposit it there and still be yield generating. So kind of go in the rabbit hole there, but that would be very cool to work on.
Yeah, I just realized, what you talk about that. We had a feature called migrate of liquidity because we had like several versions of one-inch liquidity protocol, and we do like migrator, which was look like just our regular swap interface. So you choose select like LP source token as a LP 1-inch V1, then destination token is LP 1-inch V2. But here, what we can do, let's say, imagine just an idea on 1-inch UI, you swap from USDC, and destination token is some LP token of this pool or trading strategy. If you can enter just with one token, I'm not sure how it works here, but yeah, it might be integration from token to liquidity pool if you have this seamless feature of deposit. Yeah, just again, think out loud. Need to check the code, but I think it's also feasible and works with migrator code.
Very cool.
Actually, talking to someone today about limit orders. So as we implement more and more of these like yield varying versions of tokens, like there could be we already do have a staked WETH pool. So having these, I think, would just limit orders to be yield generating in and of itself. So I'd love to chat more about this, Arno. Hit you up off.
And we had a question for the 1-inch team. I think I can kind of answer it, but it's about the last proposal that passed. It was about adding derivatives to the 1-inch network, starting with Opium's options. We're in talks with Opium now. As soon as we have like a firm, high-level roadmap, we're gonna publish that to the community. I don't know if you have any more updates, Artem, on that, or if you've been in those discussions at all.
Yeah, basically, we already contacted Open team, so there is already some internal work started there. So yeah, just integration looks straightforward, and yeah, we do our work here. About the timelines, like cannot say you much, but we have a look on the integration. We see the pairing. It probably will go under 1-inch earn section. So here is like quite straightforward what we need to do. Yeah, we already do work on this.
Cool. Thank you. So we'll let you guys know as soon as we have more information on an expected timeline for that. I think, Matt, you said there's another question here about staking. Asking about staking other currencies, I believe. Are you talking about governance staking, or I believe it's just going to be 1-inch for the time being with staking, or are you talking about the 1-inch earn program with USDT, USDC?
I think they're maybe asking like if we're gonna have governance staking for other tokens.
That was pretty quiet there. I couldn't really hear you. Did you say governance staking for other tokens?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so, guys. It's just so we have you stake your 1-inch and get ST 1-inch, which is the governance, like what Snapshot actually looks at. And there's also vesting 1-inch that core contributors can use to vote. Yeah, some people have talked about maybe allowing liquidity like LP 1-inch tokens from other protocols to vote, but all of that would have to go through the governance process since it's a change to how governance works. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Well, awesome. Very cool of you to join us, Kia, and I'm very excited about this integration. Sure we're going to be talking to each other a lot over the next few weeks. Are you going to be at Ethereum Rio or?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I won't be at Rio, but I'll be in Amsterdam. So I don't know if you guys will be in Amsterdam. Would love to see you there and catch up more. And such a vibrant community you guys have. So thanks for having me, and thanks for all the questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Kia. Very cool of you to join us. And thanks, Artem, for joining it, and Matt for moderating. I think we can wrap up now. Have a good day, everyone. We'll see you next call.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.